This is Our Living Lands, and I'm Jill Freitas. Jasmine Higheagle is the secretary for the Nez Perce Fish and Wildlife Commission and has spent her life fishing on Nez Perce lands. Our Living Lands producer Daniel Spaulding spoke to Higheagle about how the changing climate is impacting fish and water.
Growing up Nimipu, what are some of your earliest memories of fishing and who taught you the importance of being on the river?
I was a big daddy's girl. Everything my dad did was what I wanted to do. When we would go fishing, whether that was dip netting or it was hook and line or gaffing, like my dad would do that, right? But we all did it. All us girls would do it too. But when we went to like driving, like I remember we were like at Looking Glass and dip netting and learning those roads, and I used to always be amazed how my dad could just like drive all these places, right? And without a Google map, without our maps or whatever, but the feeling, right? That feeling and that connection to the salmon. And when you catch, it's kind of undescribable to be able to do that. And there's this feeling like, right when you're going to catch one. My earliest memory for like the Columbia River, going down there in my adult years, I remember going down there, and that's like a totally different water from our water, from our tributaries that are up here in Idaho, Washington, like being told to respect it, to not fear it, which resonated with me because like my dad would always leave offerings. My dad would always, we don't just are taking, what we need. But I remember having to watch that water, learn that water, like build that relationship with that water to understand like how those eddies are moving and how the water is going. And I remember holding onto ropes, and I remember just watching the water. I was told just to watch the water, sit with the water.
And I wanted to ask, what does fishing represent or mean to you beyond food, like culturally or as a way of staying connected to your family and identity?
It is relationship, responsibility, connection. It is returning to our lands, our waters, reconnecting with our relatives, and our teachings, our identity. Like, I'm so grateful to be Nimipu, so grateful to be Nimipu, because I feel like when I'm on the river, I always say like my cup is being filled, because like the healing that the salmon and the water and the land brings to me, like, is not measurable, because I really do feel like that connection to like our past, to, for like generations, like who stood in those same places, like I shared being in that, recognizing like I've been here before, but also like while you're with your relatives.
And, salmon have always been central to Nimipu culture, way of life. Over the years, what changes have you noticed in the river itself? And what concerns do you have when you look at today's salmon populations for the younger generations?
I feel like the biggest changes have been the size of the salmon runs, the size of the salmon, the water levels, the overall health of the river, invasive species, excessive algae, that we call it muck, the muck buildup, right? And then like the polluted bank and shorelines, the increasing like the temperature of the water too. The temperature of the water is a lot warmer. It's the pollution, changing of the seasons in when the fish are running. My daughter, we were having a conversation, and we talking salmon, talking hasu, right? Talking for like all our water relatives. What she shared with me, is super important. She's like, Mom, I don't want to be a grandma or a mother that is only talking about the memories of our salmon. I don't want to be sharing how beautiful our salmon was, how beautiful our trips were, how beautiful the land and the water was. And that's the reality of what it could be. Like, that really is a reality. From the climate change, I was just at the Columbia River this last weekend, and like, it really does it. Like, it chokes me up and it brings me to tears, thinking like, I'm going to take in this moment, and I'm going to be very grateful for where I'm at right now and this opportunity, because just like us, it's not promised tomorrow. It's not promised tomorrow. And like for our relative, the salmon, like, isn't promised tomorrow. And that breaks my heart. Like, it breaks my heart, because our salmon, like, they aren't only like a food for us, they are really a part of our identity. And I'm trying to instill that, with my children, but also with anybody that's willing to participate, willing to learn, because it really is that survival and that generations. That's that sustenance that has been taking care of us from time immemorial.
Tune in next week for more stories about how climate change affects tribal communities. I'm Jill Freitas for Our Living Lands, a collaboration of Kiwanis Broadcast Corporation, Native Public Media, and the Mountain West News Bureau.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.